In the discussion. We are going to start in about 3 minutes, so bear with us. 2 minutes actually. 2 minutes more. Hello everyone. Um, Welcome to Think Yoruba First Clubhouse. So today we are going to be talking about the Nigerianization of the Yoruba people. The room is going to be hosted by Are Kurumi. He's going to give the lecture today. You will have an opportunity to ask questions as you like. We're going to try to keep it brief as much as possible. So we're going to start in a few minutes. I am going to um, go ahead and play for us the Yoruba national anthem.
Thank you, everyone. We welcome you all in the name of Olodumare. Good afternoon, good evening. From everywhere you're listening to us this wonderful day. This is Think Yoruba First, a wonderful, powerful Yoruba nationalist platform meant to spread the message of Yorubanism and Yorubaness to all descendants and lovers of freedom, to all descendants and lovers of the indigenous people across the world, and to all descendants and lovers of the Yoruba people and its civilization spread across the world. Once again, my name is Are Kurumi Kankanfo. I greet all the erudite scholars in the house, and I greet all the wonderful people on the platform. Today, we will be discussing a very, very powerful topic, which is the Nigerianization of the Yoruba people. Firstly, what is Nigeria? Today's discussion is going to be straight to the point. It's going to be an intro. We are going to have an introductory part, and we are going to have some historical background, and we are going to be talking about the demerits of the Nigerianization of the Yoruba people and what it could cause and what it could bring for the Yoruba people. Once again, I greet you all in the name of Olodumare. What is Nigeria? Nigeria is a Lugadian contraction built on the destruction of black civilization. Many intellectuals of African descent have complained they fought from years back, against everything that is being regarded as a form of imperialism, racism, apartheid, neocolonialism, and colonialism itself, and even slavery that has been perpetrated against people of color, most especially the Yoruba people. We all know that the second most enslaved people in the whole sub-West African region in history are the Yoruba people, after the Madinkas. This led to the displacement of close to 5 to 10 million Yorubas between the 17th and 19th century into the New World and Europe as slaves, even into the Ottoman Empire. That was what led to the globalization of the Yoruba people. What is Nigeria again? The word Nigeria was coined by the girlfriend of one of the colonial thugs who came to loot and destroy the indigenous people of the present area called Nigeria. They call it Niger area, nigger area, black area. And we all know how despicable, how bad those racist words are. That was the inception of Nigeria. It was built on the conquests of our fathers. It was built on the destruction of African civilization. It's not a lie when we talk about the British expedition of 1895, where Benin was burnt to the ground. This was an empire, an extension of the Oduduwa dynasty, was burnt to the ground by invaders. And the Oba of Benin sent from his ancestral home, a land ruled by his forefathers for close to 900 years, if not up to 1,000 years. I'm talking about a millennium, was sent into exile. I've always said it in different platforms that there are three trinities of civilizations. We have those who build it, we have those who nurture it, and we have those who destroy it. And I've always said this, that no matter what it takes, the Yoruba civilization must not be destroyed. Never. The Yoruba civilization was destroyed and turned into a second-class status via the creation of Nigeria. It's also worthy to note that the first people who came to acquire the area called Nigeria were the Royal Niger Company. So we can say that the Nigerian project was a product of rabid capitalism. which was built on the exploitation of indigenous people at all costs. It's just like it's just like a company like Dangote going into an unknown land, killing their kings, subjugating their people, acquiring it, and giving it a name before selling it back to the Nigerian government. It's worthy of note that the Royal Niger Company, which was the capitalistic arm of the Queen of England, sold Nigeria for £800,000 plus to the British government for further exploitation and for further destruction of our homeland. What the Royal Niger Company was doing in Yoruba land was not different from what King Leopold's company was doing in the Congo, the Belgian Congo, which led to the killing of 70% of the people of Congo, which was one of the most destructive genocide of the late 19th century. Has anything been done? As King Leopold and his descendants who benefited from those corruption be brought to book? We all know the story, that there are two laws for the black man. There are two laws for the black man. There are two laws for human race. There are the laws for the privileged, and we have laws for the underprivileged. The lives of a black man does not matter. So when people talk about Black's life matter, Black's life will not matter until we do the needful, which is the fight for our identity, the fight to determine our destiny, the fight to self-determine at all costs. That was the creation of Nigeria. It was built on conquest. It was built on our destruction. It was built on our tears. So it's so funny when people tell us to be proud of a kind of an institution that was built on our pains. That is the Nigerian project. Who created it? Lord Lugard. Before 1914, the British had two different protectorates in their hands. They had the northern region, which was built on Islamist, not Islamic, Islamist feudalistic ideology of the Fulanis, who are Semitic people, invaders, who themselves were colonialists themselves. At the height of the Sokoto Caliphate, 60 to 70% of the people living within the Sokoto Caliphate were slaves. People with no rights. That was what northern Nigeria was. At least most of it. Ruled with an iron hand by the minority Fulani invaders. The Southern Protectorate, on the other hand, was different. Because we had the Yoruba people, the Igbo people, the Efik people, the Hanang people, the Ibibio people, and other ethnic groups who lived in empires, lived in kingdoms, independently. And they were brought together under the Southern Protectorate through the use of hands. History will not forgive us if we forget the valiant men of honor, men of valor, who died at the Battle of Imagbon. In the Ijebu kingdoms, when they were resisting with their lives the incursion of the British looters, thugs, invaders into Yoruba land. They fought valiantly, and history will remember them as people who fought against oppression. They lost. And that was the beginning of the end. And how we lost our freedom. How would it have been if the Oyo people teamed up with the Ijebu people? If the Ijebu people teamed up with the Owo people? If the Owo people teamed up with the Ishakiri people? If the Ishakiri people teamed up with the Akoko people? If the Akoko people teamed up with the Ekiti people? If the Ekiti people teamed up with the Igbominan people? If the Igbominan people teamed up with the Yewa people? If the Yewa people teamed up with the Egba people as a solid Yoruba bloc to fight against these invaders? Tell us how we lost our identity. Those who are proud Yorubas overnight became subject of the Queen of England, and they became Nigerians with a gun to their head, pointed to their head, signing treaties in tears, handing over the unborn generation into slavery. They were asked to forget their brothers under the French-ruled Benin Republic. And the Yoruba people of the German colony of Togo were asked to see their brothers in the British-ruled Nigeria as foreigners. It was one of the most deadly weapons of colonization, which is the destruction of ethnic identity, the destruction of who people are. The identity is the soul of any nation. Once you lose your identity, you can never be great. It is not about having prosperity that makes a nation great. And don't forget, there are different kinds of nations. We have civilization states. There is no civilization state in Africa. They are all colonial constructs. No wonder Africa is a place of destroyed destiny. The graveyard of great men. The graveyard of potentials. How are we going to get it right? The British started the project of the Nigerianization agenda because I've told you what the Nigerian identity is all about. It's a mark of slavery. Another potent weapon that the British slave owners, the American slave owners, the Brazilian slave owners, the European slave owners, let me put it in general terms, did in the New World was to give the slaves a different name. To give the slaves of their slave masters, or give them a name that had no meaning, a name to detach them from their spirituality. Durotoye became Washington. Bukola became Carrington. Adegbola became Fernandez. Adewale became Bryan. And Oduduwa became, what a pity, became Joe Biden. They lost everything. Nothing to hold on to. When they came into the shores of Africa, at least our fathers were able to stay alive. The only thing they did was to survive. I mean the Yoruba people. So the British never made a mistake, so that we are going to be under their feet till eternity. That we shall never be able to determine our destiny. Once you cannot be able to self-determine, to determine your destiny as equal people, that all men are born equal, you can never achieve what you or your purpose and destiny is all about. Took away who we are. And we started building on false foundation, building on false premises. We do not know where to go again. Lost people, prodigal sons in the wilderness. They also did something disingenuous. Many people do not know that the Yoruba people have been balkanized. 2 times, the Yoruba people have been balkanized. Firstly, in the 1884 Berlin West African Conference, the Germans took the Yorubas of Togo. The French took the Yorubas of Benin Republic. And the British took the Yoruba of what we call Nigeria. So when people tell you Yoruba people, Yoruba culture is a Nigerian culture, it is absolute madness. The Yoruba culture is not a West African culture. It's not a Nigerian culture. The Yoruba culture is a Yoruba culture. As if that was not enough, when they were creating the protectorates, they took our brothers in Okunland, took them to the north, called them Northerners, Yorubas in the northern region of Nigeria, under the rulership of the Sultan, the descendants of Uthman Dan Fodio. As if that was not enough, they took the ancient people of the Domino in Kwara area, the Ibolo people, wonderful people, took them to the north again, called them Northerners in a region where they have ties, land, physical borders with their brothers. Right within Nigeria, the Ishakiri people were given a different identity, to the extent that even young Ishakiris do not know that they have Yoruba roots. They call them Niger Deltans. They call them Ishakiri. And you have your name is Omoshola. When you speak, the Jebu man can converse with you. When they speak, the larger people cannot have same conversations with them. So there was an external balkanization and an internal balkanization to destroy who we are. We lost our identity because we refuse to know, to understand the power of identity. At the height of the Austro-Hungarian Empire and the German Empire under Otto von Bismarck, and at the height of the Russian Empire under the Caesars, they embarked on two different powerful ideology, which was the extermination of the Poles, the people of Poland. Because I've said it before, there are two ways in which you can exterminate a people. You can exterminate a people by assimilation, and you can exterminate a people by outright destruction of such people. That was what the Russians started, and it was called the Russification agenda. After they conquered some parts of Poland, they were giving Poles, the people of Poland, asking them to give their children Polish names, Russian names. This went on for years. Polish culture was driven under the table, and it was administered as part of Russia. Same thing the German was doing. It was called the Germanification agenda. People can read about it. It went on for close to over 200 years. Until they got their freedom after the First World War. That was why the first thing Hitler did was to invade Poland again, to continue the extermination of the indigenous people of Poland, as his ancestors did. So we think what is happening in Nigeria is a joke, where a particular ethnic group moves from one region to the other to continue the destruction that their forefathers started. It's not a mistake. It's not a mistake. It's a continuation of a script handed over from generations to generation, which is the destruction of indigenous people. So the Nigerianization agenda is being orchestrated both externally and internally. In as much as you are a Nigerian, where you don't control your destiny, you can never be great as those who created the Nigerian for you. In as much as you embrace the Nigerianization agenda, you will always be a second-class citizen to those who the British handed over Nigeria to. Former British diplomat Smith was able to tell the whole world how the British rigged population census, rigged elections, connived with the Fulani oligarchs in ensuring that what we call independence and freedom was a mirage, was a continuation of the colonization. In the first place, why do you have to colonize a place? Why do you? You have to colonize a place because you need resources, both human and material resources, which is the exploitation of the indigenous people. Has that stopped? It hasn't, and it will never stop. Because the reason why Nigeria was put together is to extract and do not add value. When people talk about corruption, corruption is a symptom of a dysfunctional system that was not built to work in the first place. Failure to realize this fact is the failure to realize the truth. The only glimpse of when Nigeria had a form of development and was competing with the whole world was when the different ethnic regions had a form of internal autonomy where they controlled a level of their destiny. The issue of saying we are all the same is a big fallacy and a big lie. The human race comprises of diversity, and there can never be diversity built on fraud. Denmark means the land of the Danes. The Danes are a different ethnic group, descended from the Germanic people. Finland is the land of the Finns. A group of people also they have relationship with the Germanic people. Germany, Switzerland, part of Switzerland. Austria is the land of the Germans. It's their land. You can go in there, get their citizenship, work, study, marry, do anything you want to do there, but that does not stop it from being their land. If you want to alter that reality, it has been their land in the past, it will be their land in the present, and it will always be their land in the future. The issue of saying Nigeria land does not exist. It is the glorification of the British decimation of the Yoruba people. So why are we here? We are here to actually realize and actually fight for our destiny. That what we call the Nigerianization agenda is another term for the destruction of the Yoruba people. I cry when somebody puts on agbada and somebody call it a Nigerian dress. Now let's follow logic. If a Yoruba man in Togo puts on agbada, are you going to call it a Togolese dress? You see amala, gbegiri, and ewedu, and somebody says that amala, gbegiri, and ewedu is a Benenua, is a Nigerian food. What about the people of Ajashe in Port Novo? Yoruba people with tribal marks, people who are indigenous to that space for more than 10,000 years. Just because some nuisance, some nitwit, and some shenanigans came from Europe, put on a map, a ruler on the surface of the African continent to turn brothers into enemies, to turn kinsmen into strangers, geopolitically and as regards to their nationality. The Yoruba people of Benin Republic are advised and even forced to give up their mother tongue and to speak French. While the Yoruba people of Nigeria, we openly, without any, they are not even putting a gun to their head. They don't even speak Yoruba to their children at home again, just because they want to Nigerianize. So after 100 years, the Yoruba people in Benin Republic would have lost their mother tongue, and they will be only able to talk in the French language. And the Yoruba people of Nigeria will be only able to talk in the English language. These are the language of their conquerors, the language of their slave masters. Without a gun being put to their head, they have been exterminated. The Yoruba people of Benin Republic and Togo are called Francophone Yorubas, while the Yoruba people of Nigeria are called Anglophone Yorubas. And you are going to see these Yoruba people picking up their chains of their garment of shame, saying, yes, I'm from the Commonwealth. That is the Nigerianization agenda. When people pick up poison, eat poison, drink poison, ingest poison, and assimilate poison, and openly say this poison is so sweet, that is the Nigerianization agenda. That was what Nigeria was built to do to you. It is so toxic to the extent that when sane people like us tell people, let us embrace our Yorubaness, people that have been programmed for destruction will come openly to say, when you speak your language, when you defend your ethnic identity and you defend your ancestral land, they call it tribalism. Thanks to Clubhouse, we've been able to tell the whole world what tribalism is all about. We've been able to disprove the fraud that they call tribalism. We've been able to tell the whole world what tribalism is all about. That is the love for my ancestral roots. How can you accuse a German for loving the Germanic culture and identifying first with the Germans? How can you insult or call a Frenchman a tribalist for identifying first with his French kinsmen? How can you call the Russians a tribalist, a bigot, when they identify first with their Russian kinsmen? Why will you call a Chinese a tribalist when he says, look, I am Chinese first, and I will eat in only Chinese restaurants, and I will only identify with the Chinese people. When people talk about globalization, when the Western world tell you about globalization and liberalism, they are telling you that you should open your borders, and while your resources, your mineral resources, human resources, water resources, land resources is being taken apart. Don't you see that those who are asking for Ruga, after wiping out thousands of people, are the ones that are accusing people of tribalism? When you say, look, stop killing Yoruba people, let's defend ourselves, you become a tribalist. And I'm a tribalist. I am a tribalist because I think Yoruba first. How does that make me a tribalist? Have we gone insane? Where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going with all this? Where are we going with all this? Where we are going is very certain. We are going to the museum. We are going where the Red Indians went to. We are going to where we are going to where the destruction of other ethnic groups has always been. I speak with passion tonight because Yoruba land was handed over to us by our fathers, by our mothers. Are we going to hand over a Yoruba nation to our children? I mean, there is a land border that stretches from the ocean, from Badagry, straight into Kwara, where there is where there are Yoruba people on either side of the border, straight into Togo. Yet you don't want to have any business with those brothers and sisters. And you are listening to what your conquerors, your Fulani masters are telling you. People who sold your brothers and sisters into slavery. People who connived. People who destroyed your empire. Do you know what your empire has caused? The destruction of your empire caused in Yoruba land. The destruction of your empire was what led to the Civil War. One of the longest civil wars in the world. Where millions of Yoruba people were killed, fighting themselves. When people are killed, you lose your human resources. You lose your human resources. And if people were your enemies 100, 200 years ago, what makes you think that because of a Lugadian contraption created by your slave masters, the British hooligans, will change their mind? It won't. It won't. It won't. It won't. I'm using this opportunity to tell everybody, it doesn't matter even if you are not even Yoruba. Your Igbo-ness is number one. And don't sit behind and think people are going to provide a leadership for you to protect your people. It doesn't matter what you're passing through. You can stand up and protect your people. It's an ideology. You think somebody's going to come around and save the Ijaw people? If you are a Ijaw man and you are listening to me, and Ijaw man, you are listening to me, the Nigerianization agenda will do one thing, which is the destruction of indigenous people. And it's already happening in our life. It's already happening in our time. It's already happening. We need to stand up. We need to do the needful, which is to reverse this assimilation policy. Don't forget I said something. You can only exterminate a people via two means. You can exterminate them by outright conquest, wiping them the surface of the earth. Just like the British did in America, the Spanish did in the current day Jamaica, the British did in current day Jamaica, the Spanish did in Cuba, what the Portuguese did in Brazil. This what the British did in Tasmania, Australia, where they put poison into the waters and streams. And that was how millions, thousands of the entire Aboriginal people of Tasmania were wiped out. That is a means of conquest, and it has happened. And those who perpetrated this evil are the ones living on those lands. Forget human rights. Forget humanity. If you are wiped out, the world will move on. Go and ask the people of Jos. Their land has been taken over by Fulanis. Settlers. This happened in just 30, 40 years ago. Many of us were still alive. Many people are alive. And you can also conquer people. You can exterminate the people through assimilation. How? How is this possible? Look at the Hausa people. Look at the Berbers in Morocco, in Tunisia. Many people do not know that Morocco is not Arab land. It is a Berber land. The Arabs do not own an inch of land in North Africa. It belongs to the Berbers. The Berbers have been assimilated. If you have any Moroccan friend or any Tunisian friend, ask them the question, are you Berber or Arab? There's a big difference. The St. Augustine of Hippo, that notable Catholic bishop, was an African and was a Berber. Around the present day Algeria, to Libya, around that region. If the Berbers can be wiped out and assimilated, you can't even tell the difference. They speak Arabic language. Go and see what the king of Morocco, the war he is waging against Western Sahara, and the Berbers in Morocco. Their language is banned. Their identity is thrown into the dustbin, and nobody even knows the fantastic great people called the Berbers anymore. That is extermination by assimilation. You can be, it is possible, and they have that Moroccan identity anymore. The Berbers can no longer express themselves. The language gone, custom gone, civilization gone, history gone. They are people without any homeland. They are balkanized into Western Sahara, balkanized into Morocco, balkanized into Tunisia, balkanized into Algeria, balkanized into Libya, and nobody gives a damn about them anymore. And the world is silent, and the world has moved on. Even though many of them are still trying to teach their children in their closet that we are Berbers, not Arabs. Do you know this? In the next 100 years, Hausa language will be banned in northern Nigeria, and Fulfulde will become the official language. It's going to happen. And the Fulanization policy will be completed. On the surface, it's a Nigerianization agenda. Deep core, it is a Fulanization agenda. I repeat, on the surface, it's a Nigerianization agenda. In the deep core, it's a Fulanization agenda. Even those who believed in this contraption came out to scream that there is a Fulanization agenda. It has happened before, and it's going to happen again if you don't do the needful. It's not about carrying guns. It's a battle of the mind. Go and look at what the Poles did to resist the Germanification and the Russification agenda under the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the German Empire, and the Russian Empire under the Caesars. How they were able to survive. Go and read about it. Some people are already alive, but they are in the museum. The Babas, they are alive. They are in the museum. The Hausa people are alive, and they are in the museum. They are in the museum. Forget all the nonsense. Hausa Fulani, it does not exist. If you don't believe before, look at what Buhari has done. Go to the north and call 10 Almanjiris. Ask them how many of them are Fulanis. Ask them. Ask them. They tell you, we have Fulani, we have Hausa stalwart. Forget about it. You came into a space using the fraud called religion, killed their leaders, and installed your own kinsmen, minority, to rule them. A race without power is a conquered people. A race without power is a useless race. No apologies. A race without power, you are conquered people. So it's an ideology of the mind. And Yoruba people will say, oh, we are not educated. You are an educated illiterate. I've always said that everywhere. Because you do not know why you exist. You are only walking. You are not existing. You are only walking. You are not existing. You are only walking. You are not existing. This is why I am talking about the Nigerianization agenda. The Nigerianization agenda is what people don't talk about. It's not a common phenomenon. Many people don't know about it. Many scholars don't know about it. But this is a coinage. I'm coining that word. That is what is going to happen. That was why they hated Awolowo. Awolowo was telling people to understand why they are Yorubas. He was an enemy that needed to be taken out. Awolowo fought against the British for close to 40 years, against British imperialism. He was fighting against British imperialism. 2 years after the British left, they locked him in prison. They used the black people to do the dirty job. And when he was meant to die in prison, not till the event happened and unfolded. And they made sure he was nobody in Nigeria. He never held any political position where he could make the change to continue the ideology. He was a dangerous man to be given power because he did what many millions of Yoruba war generals, kings, obas, for 400 years have not been able to do, which was the bringing together of the Yoruba people. These are facts. He was a man to be taken out. They knew what he stood for. I'm going to say this without any fear. Awolowo was a man of unfulfilled potential for the Yoruba people. They took him out. Without war, without conquest, Yoruba people were speaking with one voice, at least to a certain extent. That was why when he was locked up, Yoruba people went to war. Operation Wet here. It was too dangerous. It didn't matter, maybe it was 1967 Civil War. Then the balkanization of Nigeria was a matter of time with the way the Western region was going. Before we start asking questions, what are we doing in Nigeria? So he had to be taken out. Because the first thing he was doing was building the economic power base. When you control your economy, you have economic prosperity. As an ethnic region, you are going to become too powerful for the enemy to control. Mention any country, a powerful country in Europe that is not an ethnic country. Mention one. Mention one powerful country in Far East Asia that is not an ethnic country. Mention one powerful country. When you talk about North America, that was built on the extermination of people. If you want to be like America, that means you want to go into extinction. Continue to shout one Nigeria. You don't care what Buhari does. Let him just give you 24-hour electricity. The Red Indians also said that. Many of them even took British names. They married white British wives. What has happened to them? They are gone. They are gone. They are no more. They are in the museum. Go to British Western museums in Europe, in America. You are going to see Red Indians. Do you think you are better than the Aztecs? People that do not exist again. It will happen and the world will move on. The world will not fall. I repeat, if the Yoruba people go into extinction, the world will move on and the world will not fall. That's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. That is the Nigerianization agenda. This is a disaster that we must avert. This is a disaster that must not happen to us again. That must never be allowed to happen to us. No matter what. No matter what. No matter what. I welcome everybody once again to the platform called Think Yoruba First. Thank you for being attentive and for being here. The fight for the freedom of Yoruba people. If you go to war without a proper ideology, you will become warlords and disorganized people. The greatest way to fight a battle is to awaken the minds of people. I will never be an advocate of violence, but to teach the people what to do. To tell them to wake up from their slumber, that they are about to wake up in the museum. And our ancestors who fought several battles are waiting for us. And they will ask us, what did we do? The Nigerian project is not sacrosanct. It's a project built on the blood of indigenous people. Close your eyes and listen to that again. It's a project based on the graveyard of our forefathers. Nothing more, nothing else. To sugarcoat it is a waste of time. That is the Nigerian project. To pledge to that and to continue to think you can save it from its own destruction is a waste of time. You will only sign your own death warrant. It's time to go home, my fellow Yorubas. It's time. And this is a marathon, not a sprint. Because we are fighting powerful enemies. People who want to keep us where we are. This is not about prosperity. This is not about having big houses, having big businesses. This is about having a homeland. Do you know the meaning of all the things? Go and ask the Jewish people what it takes to be an homeland. Go and ask the Chinese people what it takes to have an homeland. Go and ask them. Go and ask the German people what it takes to protect motherland. Go and ask Vladimir Putin on what it takes to protect motherland Russia. It's spiritual. Highly spiritual. Highly spiritual. Highly spiritual. Thank you, everybody, once again.
Okay, thank you, Are. Uh, uh, I think I see some people flashing. Again, if this is your first time in this club, this is Yoruba. Think Yoruba First Clubhouse. Kindly join the club. We will be bringing programs at least every week. We're going to be bringing programs by God's grace. Um, the ideology is really just to remind you of who you are as a person, as a Yoruba person, before everything happened. I encourage you to please read the description of the club and also read the rules of engagement of the club. And I'm going to, if you want to speak, please flash your mic and I'll take your name down. I have Indidi and I have Bale. Okay, Indidi will go first. You're not timed, but let's just try to be mindful of time. So Indidi, Bale, then TJ. Indidi, please.
Hi, thank you, Are. I think I heard you say that the colonialists, right, the conquerors, basically needed our land and resources, and that they did that through exploitation of the indigenous people. So yeah, I have a question and a comment. So I was wondering if you could essentially define this system of seizure of one's resources at the expense of the mass of the people that are indigenous and sovereign to the land as what we know today as the system of capitalism. And this is because, as you look at the world systems and conquering and domination, one cannot omit the role that money in form of resources plays, right? So a means to control people is to starve them of resources, because when you look at it, there's absolutely no rational explanation as to why it's so difficult to make money when there's clearly an abundance of resources. And I feel like this system of wealth acquisition has been manipulated to the point that there's this dominant propaganda that says, as far as most people are concerned, that your worth, your merit, your sense of accomplishment and dignity as a human being is measured solely by the degree to which you've been able to accomplish wealth. And a lot of people think that this is noble, like this is the number one thing that people advertise about themselves, and think that this is what gives them pride as a human being. And we think that it's just, oh yeah, I'm doing a business and money without realizing that this is a way that we've all been co-opted to support a system that is essentially the key to our marginalization. And I think that this is the most deadly and dysfunctional system that has ever emanated in human history, a system that promotes the worst possible aspects of humanity, which include greed, anger, jealousy, resentment, a lack of unity among human beings. And so I wanted to know what you think about that, because when you say that essentially all of the atrocities and human rights disasters that is the contraption of Nigeria, which is an ongoing nightmare for the citizens of that country. Um, when you say that this emanated essentially because of the sole purpose of a people to take our resources because they have nothing. And
Indeed.
yeah.
Can you repeat your first question properly? Like, please simplify it. I'm sorry.
Okay, so during your talk, you mentioned that the whole agenda of the colonialists was to extract our resources because they have no resources, and you mentioned that um, this is at the expense and exploitation of the indigenous people. So I wanted to know if you could clearly define this mode of operation, which has been implemented since they landed on the planet of Africa. If you could officially call this system capitalism. because I believe that this is essentially what the system of capitalism is. But there's been a lot of propaganda to spin
Can I
it.
can I quickly let me quickly answer that question. Um, Thank you very much, indeed. I love when we go to the intellectual, we intellectualize our argument, and this is beautiful. It's nice meeting you, ma. Thank you very much. The concept of capitalism, in its most rapid form, started during the slave trade, where human beings were used as a very important factor of production. And because before the start, the advent of industrialization, human labor was the most important factor in providing goods and services. And when lands were conquered and the inhabitants of those lands in their millions were wiped out, the land was so big that they had not enough labor to farm it. I mean, cheap labor. So the next thing to do was to look for alternatives, which was in form of indentured servants and slaves. Even the word slave means it was from the Slavic people who were used as slaves under the Ottoman Empire. Under the Ottoman Empire. Therefore, I think we have to understand that the kind of rapid capitalism which was built on exploitation was perfected in the Americas, most especially the United States of America, because America stands for capitalism. And the exploitation and segregation of people, even the word racism, the issue of using white, black versus white, black, did not exist in the 1500s. In the European world, it never existed. In the 1600s, it never existed. In the 1700s, it never existed. It was in the 1800s that this particular act had to be perfected in order to create a permanent economic class based on skin color, melanin, and based on origin. That was what they did. And I will agree with you in totality. Don't forget, indeed, even those who practiced Jim Crow, lynching, and apartheid also had intellectual argument to back it up. I've come across such writings, such videos, where people openly defended apartheid 30, 40 years ago. And don't be surprised that we also had people that were black who were also defending apartheid. It's all about exploitation. Racism and exploitation, capitalism, go hand in hand. I also want to put it to you. Do you know that majority of the European countries practice a form of socialism? You have to look at the hypocrisy of those people. They practice a form of socialism. The Europeans. In Germany, it's almost a socialist state. In Denmark, the Scandinavians, it's almost a socialist state. There is a form of social welfare services for the people. But when they want to interact with indigenous people, it is total exploitation. It's a double standard. For themselves, they preserve themselves. To others, it is destruction. That is why we preach self-preservation to our people. If you do not practice self-preservation, you will be destroyed. You will be, and the world will move on. Have I answered the question, Didi?
Yes, thank
you. Okay, continue your question. Continue the second question.
No, that was primarily my question, but I just feel like the word capitalism and the system of wealth acquisition, which preaches that this is the main idea that establishes human accomplishment and a sense of importance, is a complete fraud. And I think that most people don't understand that. So we think that by, participating in this system, that we're being noble without really understanding that we are um, supporting a system that is inherently behind most of human destruction, including ourselves. So I just think that it's been propagandized in such a way that we don't realize the destruction that we are um, uh, participating in, because it's really what it really is a system of wealth extraction and seizure, and then kind of like weaponizing the poverty that results. And so it's a kind of covert way of the general system of domination, conquer, and power over people. But I think that this is very, very sophisticated and nuanced, such that people are not seeing it, because the way that I see society as a whole validating this system, and the people that should be shamed are the people that use force to impose economic hardships that completely destroy people's lives, that impose a level of suffering that is beyond anything that should be acceptable by humanity, especially when the resources are there. But a greedy, evil class of people decide to seize and hold these resources as a weapon. And a lot of us are not seeing that. We choose to shame poverty, because that's another thing that maintains this system, is this very powerful dialogue of shame. For example, the fact that I'm saying this, most people would say, oh, she's poor, she's failed in life, that's the reason why she's saying it. And that is not the truth. If so many people are living in poverty, there is a problem with the system. That's an indictment against the system in a world where resources are abound. Something is wrong with that system. It is not the individual, and it's not a product of individual failure, like the way this system tells us. And I feel like we're not talking about that yet. We are still worshiping money and believing these lies that they're telling us, when it completely does not represent what's actually happening.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Indidi. Please, I'm gonna call the next person, but let me just make a quick comment. I get what you're trying to say, um, at least to some degree, and this is how I always reasoned it. It all goes back to the same thing. This same concept of what we're trying to drive home here, of the real identity and the real ideology of a people. There's a topic in Afrocentricity that I took when I was in college. It's called the concept of location and dislocation. When people, the inner core of a people, this is in particular to the Black people generally. The inner core, your substance, that thing that forms, it's like your mitochondrial DNA. The inside of you, that core has been replaced. It's been replaced with something else. It's not much of capitalism itself, but more of individualism. Individualism is the ideology of the West, whereby it's just about you. Whereas majority of the Black folks generally, we are not individualistic by nature. When you look at it, I'm always going to use Yoruba as my reference because I'm a Yoruba woman, and that's where my core was formed. if you look at the way we built our houses traditionally in those days, Yoruba don't build houses, you don't live alone. They have something called agboile, which means a group of houses that are pretty much built together. These are different families that actually built all their houses under one compound, in the same compound. And everybody in that particular agboile see themselves as brothers. So when you leave that community, if you go as far as Lagos or you go outside of the country, there is always going to be somebody from your agbole that you are always going to reference. So when you go to another place, that person is your automatically that's your link, and they will do whatever they need to do to support you to get to where you need to go to. Today, this is part of what our Requiem is trying to say. The rot in our society. We don't even, first of all, we don't build our houses like that anymore. Now we build houses like the West, everybody to their own. Now we don't see each other as brothers anymore. We have become individualistic. We have imbibed the ideology of individualism. We don't have that sense of community anymore. That is why we don't even see each other as Yoruba anymore. I don't even know what we see each other as. And the same goes, it's not for only Yoruba, the same goes for every African, all the majority of the African tribes. The location, the core of us is been dislocated. We're using the individualistic core, which is the ideology of the West, of the Europeans. And it works for them. Look at their society, you cannot compare it to ours. Okay? That individualism worked for them. But it doesn't work for us. So what we are doing is that we have replaced our own center, our own strong core. We replace it with individualism. And of course, we become a mess. So that is the center of it. Capitalism, you can argue depending on who you are talking to. It works for the West. Okay? Their society is not as deplorable as ours. So it is working for them because it fits their ideology. It fits their ways of life. They are able to work it out to solve their problems. But the truth is that it's not working for us. And we refuse to relocate ourselves because we have been so Nigerianized, and we continue with the experiment in which they put us into. We continue with that. We continue to want to take this identity that is not who we are as a person. So it's a very, very complicated issue. I think that we're going to be peeling the shell one at a time. This is just one of the very first series of the lectures. And, I thank you for bringing that topic up. I'm working diligently to get professors of, that can actually come and educate us deeply, in addition to what Ara is going to be doing here, about this issue, this concept of identity, this concept of location, dislocation. Maybe, just maybe, we might be able to pull some wool out of each other's eyes. So let's go to Bale. Bale, are you there? Bale Badon.
Yes, I'm right here, but I'm not going to
Go on,
spend
sir.
much time.
You're
Okay. Oh, thanks for what you said so far, Are and Obìnrin. And I really want to say, your absence on Clubhouse have been missing over a long period of time. So welcome back. I'm not going to say much about the conquest of the Yorubas or the Nigerianization of the Yorubas. But with what NDD brought up, if we have to dissect capitalism, we have to look at different agendas, different areas of capitalism. Even in the West, is capitalism working? Is something that we need to talk about and discuss about. I think there was a time I was listening to Ray Diallo. He even talked about the problem of capitalism. and he also enjoyed, is also the partaker of capitalism. So capitalism is actually is an ideology from the West that came during the conquest of Africans or indigenous people around the globe. This is where they use companies, industries to take materials, minerals, and everything that belongs to other people for the West and for the West alone. And um these materials, these this stuff is being controlled by 1% of the 1%. So if we say, as an African, as a black man, as a Yoruba, you want to indulge in the ideology of capitalism, then there are some stuff that we need to do. And if you look at it, it will never it will never help our community. It will only dissect us and destroy us. And you can even look at Nigeria right now. And Lagos is an example of what capitalism is going to cost. I like, since this topic is not actually about capitalism, don't let me delve into it. And about the Yoruba Nigerianization of the Yoruba people. Well, what I would say is this: the idea of not being Yoruba or changing our mentality comes in two ways. At least for me, number one is education. Number two is religion. Because with our way of like if you look at it, culture is the way of life of people, and religion is part of the way of life of people. The more our people started learning the way of the West, they want to behave like the West, they want to eat like the West, they want to do everything like the West or the Arabs. The more we start killing and destroying ourselves and who we are. If we look at an average Yoruba society right now, it's it is hard, even among the people we call so-called poor, or I don't even want to call them middle class, to see children being raised with their language anymore. Why is that? Is our language so that bad that we see it as something that is not representative of who we are? I could remember even if you speak Yoruba at school, they call it vernacular. I could remember while growing up, this is when my idea of being a Yoruba person started coming up. I could remember when growing up, I talked to my dad that, oh, why is it that everybody else, I see them speaking English, but we at home, we are only obliged to speak Yoruba? And why is it that I do not have any English name? What my dad told me was that until he sees an Englishman, a Westerner, a white man, take up a Yoruba name or speak Yoruba fluently without being forced, that's when he's going to be compelled, his children, to speak Yoruba as their first language. And since then, I started asking why. I went into reading, and it dawned on me that if we keep assimilating the Western way, indirectly, we are killing, or we are enslaving ourselves mentally. If we look at our ways right now, a lot of our culture is evaporating in our eyes and we are not paying attention to it. A lot of things have been bastardized as a Yoruba person, and we keep mute, thinking we are being civilized. And even if we talk about civilization is very subjective. To an Arab man, if you ask them to define civilization, it will be different from a Yoruba person. It will be different from a Westerner. Even in the West, an Englishman will define civilization differently to a German. So, what is wrong with we people in Western Africa, in Sub-Saharan Africa? Even not only Yoruba people, if you look at the West or the Sub-Saharan Africa, we tend to behave more like our colonialists than who they actually are. Because what the colonialists have done to our mentality is they've made us feel them either physically or mentally superior than we are. And we try our possible best, either knowingly or unknowingly, to behave, to act, to eat, to do everything like they are doing or like they have done in the past. Even to the extent of us raising our kids. So, for us to change a lot of things, I think our society need to relax back and view things. We need to plan like the Chinese. We have to put education first. Let us educate ourselves as a Yoruba person, not either, both culturally, religion, educationally, in every aspect of life. Our culture needs to be at the front of any engagement. Then we can start changing anything, especially for our children to come. If you look at India, if you look at China, they were able to analyze this thing as early as possible. And for them to become who they are today, they realize they have to stop with the idea of westernization. They have to leave the idea of westernization and embrace their culture, embrace who they are. So since then, we all can be a witness that these two countries have actually expanded to be a top player, and that has not affected their culture anyway. That's the reason why you will see an Indian or a Chinese that will go anywhere around the globe proud of their religion. But as a Yoruba person, can you be proud of who you are without being labeled? So the mentality actually is the problem. The education is the problem. And we have to start putting things in place. We have to start questioning things. Like Aria said, if it is hard for a Yoruba in Nigeria to see a Yoruba man in Togo as his brother anymore, this is because of the mental border, mental line that has been created and have been assimilated, has been created by the colonialists and has been assimilated by we the West, by we the Africans. So for us to change a lot of things, even for us to accept what is being perpetrated now in the media, Africanism, Pan-Africanism, I think we have to know who we are first as a nation. I'm not calling us as a tribe anymore because we are not a tribe, we're a nation. For us to span from somewhere from Kogi all the way to somewhere in Ghana, then we know the strength of we Yorubas, and we have to go back. Though some of our stuff might be lost, we need to do research of who we are, who we were.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Very, very thought provoking. Are, do you have something to say before we call the next person? Are, are you there?
I have nothing to say. It's nice to listen to people, and I'm happy to hear my brother Bale. So I'm also learning. So let's go to the next person. So
Oh, Mr. TJ, Babalowonle, you're
Yeah,
next.
hello. Yeah, it's morning my own side here. Good morning to everyone. Ẹ káàárọ̀, ẹ káàsán, ẹ kú bójú ọjọ́ ṣe rí lọ́dọ̀ tiyín náà. I won't take much of everyone of time. Everybody have already spec their mind, and I believe we are all asking for the same thing. So if I may not too wrong or just to say my mind, are we all ready for all this? Starting from obìnrin, ààrẹ, baálẹ̀, gbogbo àwọn tó ti ń sọ̀rọ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀ tí mo gbọ́ lọ débi tí mo gbọ́ dé tí mo ti wá fi join yín tí mo fi raise ọwọ́ tẹ́ fi ní kí n dáhùn. Ṣé a ti ṣe tán? Because ọ̀nà mẹ́ta ló pín sí. Ìdí ni pé ọ̀nà mẹ́ta tó pín sí ni pé ẹ má bínú o, because tó bá yé mi ó lè má yé ẹlòmíì, tó bá dẹ̀ yé ẹlòmíì ó lè má yé mi. Àgbààgbà mẹ́ta ló máa ń ṣèlú. Àwọn àgbààgbà mẹ́ta tó dẹ̀ máa ń ṣèlú ni pé ọkùnrin, obìnrin, ọmọdé, àgbàlagbà ọkùnrin, àgbàlagbà obìnrin, àgbàlagbà ọmọdé. Àsìkò tá a wà yìí ńsìn, àsìkò àwa ọmọdé ni. Tá a bá ti ṣe tán kò ń ṣe ọ̀rọ̀ because gbogbo ibi tá à ń sálọ nílùú òyìnbó, àwọn tó ń jà fún ẹ̀tọ́ ibẹ̀, àwọn youth ibẹ̀ ni. So tá a bá ti ṣe tán láti jà fún ẹ̀tọ́ wa, I believe it's in our hand. Yorùbá, we have been a nation, we have been a empire before the Western world colonize our forefather or whatever. Wọ́n ti ṣe ipa tiwọn nìyẹn. Ipa tiwa dẹ̀ leléyìí tó kù. So tá a bá ti ṣe tán, it take only three things. It's either by violence or not violence. But you can't get your freedom from your slave master without no violence. Put it down under your document. You may not like it or you may like it. You can't get your freedom under your slave master. Kó lọ kọ́ṣẹ́ gan during the time of ìgbà tán kọ́ṣẹ́ ní Nàìjíríà. Tó bá kọ́ṣẹ́, tó bá ti mọṣẹ́ tán, tó mọ tailor, tó mọ hairdresser, tó bá ní ọ̀gá mi fẹ́ ṣe freedom, wọ́n máa ní kò tíì sáyé, ò tíì mọṣẹ́ tó. Being that ó wá kọ́ṣẹ́ ni ẹrú ló jẹ́. So tá a bá ti ṣe tán, the ball is in our court. But tá a bá ti ṣe tán, it's not by media, but the media helps a lot. It helps a lot because it brings everything to transparent to those who wants to see. Tó bá ti mọ̀ pé ò ń gbádùn, you are in Canada, you are in America, you are in Australia. Tó bá ti mọ̀ pé ò ń gbádùn, tó bá ti ní kò kàn ẹ́, situation Nigeria bó ṣe escalate every day, that's the name Nigerian. Tó bá ti ní kò kàn ẹ́, ìgbà tó wá máa kàn ẹ́, wọ́n máa pe bí àbúrò mọ́mì ẹ àbí next to daddy ẹ wọ́n ti kidnap èèyàn kan, then ó máa wá kàn ẹ́. So ibi tá a wà yìí, it's left to this generation entirely to push it. Those who fought for the freedom of the British, they have done their own part. Bẹ́ẹ̀ fẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ̀, they have made what they can make out of it. So it's left for the young coming behind, which is we, 40, 30, 35, 25, up to 60. If we can't speak, ẹ gbàgbé ẹ̀, because thank God, my own mother is 70. So kí ló fẹ́ sọ fún mi? and I'm still younger than my mom. So I want to live more better life. If I can't speak up now, I will live more more poor than my mom because she's already 70. So we have a lot of jobs to do. Violence or no violence, argument or no argument, is not by media. Thank you so much. I rest my case.
Okay. Yorùbá sọ pé ẹjọ́ la máa ń kọ́, a kì í kọ́jà. A group of people that if you don't know what you're walking into, then you are already defeated, because you won't even know. Like you don't even know the inner construction of a house, and then you just walk inside and you are trying to find the master bedroom. You're going to be walking all over the place. So that is why it is very important to get the proper education, to get the proper enlightenment, to get the proper understanding. And everybody is in the enlightenment. Like we said, and we put it on this particular club, Think Yoruba First. The purpose of here is to relocate people to the person that they are. And a lot of things can be done. Ọ̀rọ̀ tútù ó lè yọ, ó máa yọ kíní kan lápò. Sorry, if you guys know the way, please help me here. I'm sinking in the water.
Ìjọ́ wo ló máa yọ obì tútù lápò? Ọ̀rọ̀ tútù máa yọ idà lápò. Ìjọ́ wo nìyẹn?
Let me finish. So there are ways to do things, and there are ways to do things. That let's just leave it there. The bottom line is that the purpose here is to educate ourselves, wake each other up, wake that Yoruba inside of you up, and then everything else comes after. I'm just going to leave it at that. We're not going to say anything, because also we pay ọmọ ọsàn kò gbọdọ̀ tí iṣu yọ. If we call ourselves Yoruba that are full of wisdom, we should know how to, tí ọ̀rọ̀ tó bá gbóná, ọ̀rọ̀ ó ní bá ṣe máa ó níbi tá máa ń gbé kà, ó ní bá ṣe máa ń ṣe. Kò dẹ̀ kí ṣe gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ náà ni èèyàn máa sọ ní public platform, torí àwọn tí wọ́n máa ń ka ọ̀rọ̀ síyàn lọ́rùn ni o. Torí àwọn tó ń ka ọ̀rọ̀ síyàn lọ́rùn, torí àwọn tó máa sọ pé nǹkan kan la wí, ọ̀tọ̀ dẹ̀ ní nǹkan tá a sọ. Let's just leave it at that. The bottom line is, let's educate ourselves, let's re-engineer ourselves to be a real Yoruba, to be a real Omoluabi. If we can do that, the rest is easy. The rest is easy. If we all, as the Yoruba people, know who we are today, we will set ourselves free. Láì pa ẹnìkankan lára. Because àìrìnpọ̀ ọmọ ejò olóhùn ṣekú pa wọ́n o. If we all, as Yoruba, lónìí tí a bá ti mọ̀ pé Yorùbá ni wá, tá a bá sọ wípé ẹ jẹ́ ká di Yorùbá, tá a béèrè fún ẹ̀tọ́ wa, kò sẹ́nìkankan tó máa gbọ́ wa lóhùn. Ní tó ń fìyà jẹ wá, ó ní wípé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wa la ti sọ ọmọlúàbí wa nù, la dẹ̀ ti sọ Yorùbá wa nù. Òun ló fa gbogbo rédèrèdè tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sí àwọn ọmọ Oòduà ní bíbáyìí, tí gbogbo ẹ̀ tó fọ́n síta níbí. And trivialize, a lè má rí bẹ́ẹ̀, ṣùgbọ́n there is power in kí àwọn èèyàn kan gbọ́ra wọn yé, tí gbogbo Yorùbá bá dìde lénìí, tí wọ́n fi ìmọ̀ ṣọ̀kan, tí wọ́n sọ pé àwa Yorùbá à ń lọ, èmi ò rí ẹni tó lè dá wọn dúró. Torí náà, ẹ jọ̀ọ́, ẹ jẹ́ ká alábàtìjẹ ọ̀rọ̀ yín yé mi. Mi ò bínú. Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ àárẹ̀ ìbínú. Ẹ já máa tẹ̀síwájú.
Ọba lórí ọba lẹ́yìn Aláàfin. Màá wo bí ṣe lè fọ́ọ̀dẹ̀.
Ó dà.
Omi ọ̀fífẹ́, ó sọ fún yín pé.
Ó yé mi. Ọ̀rọ̀ yín ibi tá ìsọ̀rọ̀ dé gan ó yé mi jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ ẹ jọ. Ubuntu goddess èmi ò mọ̀ ṣé Ubuntu goddess ni sister mi Ubuntu goddess. Is it Ubuntu goddess or Ubuntu goddess? I think she left the house. Okay. Mr. Olumide, do you want to say something?
Good afternoon.
Good
Obìnrin Àkọ́ṣe, Ààrẹ, the whole house, good afternoon. It's been a while, Ààrẹ. Long time no hear your voice. And Obìnrin Àkọ́ṣe. I listened to Ààrẹ's submission, and it says something that resonated with me about to prevent the Yoruba race for being subjected permanently to the museum. And I asked myself a question: are we not already at the museum stage yet? Because let's be real about what is going on presently right now. I'm not oblivious of what is going on and the factions going on right now among the Yoruba people, especially on this social media platform. But you see, the truth is this, and the question we need to ask ourselves is this: why are we fighting among each other, and why are there so much factions? And the real reason is because we don't really know who we are. Basic. We don't know who we are, we don't understand our core, and we don't know what we stand for as a people. I remember many years ago when I had the opportunity to travel and interact with the Yoruba people in the Bahia region in Brazil. And I also had the opportunity to receive some of them who came to Nigeria about 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, on a tour of Southwest Nigeria. And I personally took that group, about 50 of them, to the Oni of Ife's Palace and to Osun Osogbo Festival. Despite the fact that these people, their ancestors, who were originally from the Oyo Empire and some parts of Benin Republic, despite the fact that their ancestors were carried as slaves to South America, and they've lost every form of connection to the African continent, and even in terms of linguistics, in terms of language, they still held on to the Yoruba culture and tradition after over 250 years. They can't speak Yoruba, but they are Yoruba in the core of their hearts as a people. So, and in their daily lives, you see it play out, how they relate, how they interact among themselves. And I think recently, I just heard now that the Bahia region has been given autonomy. They now, I think Yoruba has now been accepted as one of the languages. Also, I think a news came out just recently about that. But what am I trying to say is that despite the fact that they've been removed from this continent, from Yoruba land for over 250 years to 300 years, and they can't even speak Yoruba, they are still Yoruba in the core of their being. So I ask myself a question, I look around. We have adopted, and I look at us as Yoruba people, and I'm not talking of other people now, I'm including myself. We have adopted the Western style of living, its philosophy, its ideology as paramount. We've adopted its spirituality. Now, I'm not talking of religion now, because religion is different. We've adopted its spirituality and its style of governance as paramount. And above all, we've adopted his style of education as supreme. And we ask ourselves, are we not in the museum already? I think we're in the museum already. I think what we are fighting among ourselves for is a place of prominence within the museum. And until we really know the real rot we are in, we won't be able to even fathom an iota of a solution. The problem is we are in the museum already. And for us to get out of that state of museumness, we need to liberate our minds. And we need to be conscious of who we really are. I yield. Thank you.
I can't say it any better. That is, that brings it home. That's essentially what is all about. That is why we're saying think Yoruba first. That's why we're saying people need to be relocated. Their center is rotten. Is rotten. Are you there, sir? Are, I think I don't know. There's so much going on in the background. Are,
I'm there.
okay, sir. Please, do anybody else want to speak? Please flash your mic before we go around. Nobody's flashing. Are, okay, the review is here. Are, do you want the review to go
Of
first?
course, let my brother Abiodun to talk.
Okay.
Right. All right, everyone. I am glad to be here in the midst of great minds, and first of all, I am very very happy, with the name of the club. Think Yoruba First. Right. It really resonates in me. It makes me believe that whatever has gone wrong can be corrected, whether it took so many decades to get to this point in time, some people were born into this rut, but still we are bringing it back. We are trying to correct it. We are trying to make sure that people have to think Yoruba first. And I am very happy that we will gradually sensitize our people, which I have learned a whole lot today. As an Igbo man with a Yoruba mom, I respect Yoruba culture. I respect the history. I respect the tradition. And I accept all of them wholeheartedly, because that's who the Yorubas are and that's who we are. So I see myself as a Yoruba person, even though I was raised in the East. And basically, and I want all of us in this room to ask ourselves a very serious question. Very, very serious question. Why should we throw away who we are for what the white man created? That's what I always tell you. I used to ask this Pan-Africanist this question. You keep saying Pan-Africanist. The first thing a Pan-Africanist should do is to put black people first and black interest, Africa first and African interest, which is making sure that all the fake boundaries, all the fake contraption created by the white, which definitely expresses white supremacy should be deconstructed. Nigeria especially. If you're a Pan-Africanist and you're not thinking about how to get Yorubas out of this falsehood, this false nationhood called Nigeria, then you are not a Pan-Africanist. A Pan-Africanist should make sure that Africa has to come back the way it was before Berlin. That's very important. A Pan-Africanist of Yoruba extraction should make sure that the Yoruba borders, or should I say the border that divided the Yorubas of the Nigerian state and the Benin Republic should be deconstructed. That's the first thing. So, and I'm making it clear to everyone here that if you're a Pan-Africanist, I repeat, make sure that all the messed up boundaries, all the ethnic nations that have been destroyed, just look at Igbo people. Some even deny their Igbo-ness sometimes. At the point they agree, they deny on convenience, they accept on convenience. I think Igbo people are very lucky. I don't know if they face that kind of problem that Igbo people has faced. So for decades, some were born into this, some were caused by the Civil War. So the Yoruba people should be strong. Those that have realized that if we don't stop this Nigerianization, which has been around over the decades, which most of us were born into it, then we will be in a very big mess. In fact, we're already in a deep mess. So I think we're only doing what my father called a damage control. So we're kind of doing damage control now. We're trying to make sure that we shouldn't spoil further. We shouldn't destroy further. So that's why going to the pole is the problem. We have to make sure that we seize our space, we seize who we are, we seize our culture, we bring it back to our subconscious mind and make sure that whatever falsehood that has been fed to us in the past, especially how they took away history from school, to make us to keep living in the dark, to make us to keep thinking that, our existence started when the white men came. Our history started from 1914. All these lies has to come down. We have to make sure we debunk all the lies, and that is what the Pan-Africanists should do. Take away all the fake boundaries, destroy all the fake contraction created by the British. That's the first thing you should do. Let Africa come back to how it was. Let the Yoruba nation be who they are. Let the Igbos be who they are. Before the lumping of great minds, great ethnic nations together to form an evil that will never progress. That has never progressed. And in a million years, it will never progress. It can only favor the corrupt politicians among us. They will continue to embezzle while we lose who we are, while our race gradually goes into extinction. While you think Yoruba first, I will also highlight the concept. I believe the Igbos should as well think Igbo first. And I beg of you guys, I would like to borrow this. Maybe I'll run a room in my Igbo community. And I would like to welcome my great brother, Aret, to come also as well, speak with a couple of text, touch of history. Why we should think Yoruba first. Why we should think Igbo first. Nigeria is a contraption. It has no meaning in my language. It has no meaning in Yoruba language. But most of the names we bear in Igbo language represent who we are, represent our ancestors, represent our spirituality. That's why we should think Yoruba first. That's why we should think Igbos first. And take a look at Igbo people, for instance. We have Igbos in Equatorial Guinea, in Bioko. We have Igbos in Gabon. We have Igbos in the Caribbean. We have Igbos. There's an article, should I say a radio program, that I actually listened to. Someone sent it to me. And this radio program said, I know I haven't listened to that, but it's just a link. I'm still going to listen to that. They say at least 60% of Black Americans have at least one Igbo ancestor, by Dr. Douglas B. Chambers. He said that in a radio interview. I'm going to play it. I will listen to that, and I will make sure I download it. These are our people. Now, these are some people that today they're trying to create another kind of identity, while they're supposed to help us including the Yorubas in Brazil. We have to link up with our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, in Brazil, in America, all over the world, brothers from Mauritania, from Mali, from Senegal. If they can't do that, we can do it as well. So let's start working on how we can link up all our brothers all over the world, those that go to the place they are, maybe through slavery or whatever. Let's link up together and think Yoruba first. The only land we have is that our ancestral land. We have to think about who we are first before Nigeria. I wasn't a Nigerian before 1914. I was an Igbo man. You're a Yoruba man. That's what you are. That's who you are. And being who you are is beyond just a mere existence. It's spiritual. It's spiritual. So our ancestors will never be happy with us. Our ancestors will never be happy with us because we were thinking about Nigeria. Oh, Nigeria, most popular black nation, all those crap, all those kumbaya. We'll be doing those nonsense, and people will, people will now, some people will be planning ahead of time, thinking about how to take over all our land and conquer us and displace us and install all their religious monarchs from what, imagine having an emir of Port Harcourt, emir of Nsukka, emir of Mbise, emir of Ibadan. They are coming. So if we start thinking about first, if we start thinking Igbo first, if we start thinking Ijaw first, we will prepare our mind, we will prepare our ideology, we will prepare our subconscious mind, which is important to be able to fight this falsehood, to be able to free our mind mentally from these lies they have fed us with over the decades. So while we play Afro pop music, while we listen to Davido and the rest of them, we should as well know that most of the songs we saw because there's a little touch of our tradition, our sound, our own indigenous sound to this song that the world is accepting. So if the world can accept our Afro pop music, we'll speak our language in it. Why can't we protect who we are? Why can't you think who we are first? There is no Nigerian music. What we have is Yoruba music. What you have is Igbo man. What you have is Yoruba man. What you have is Ijaw man. So we have to think Yoruba first. We have to think Igbo first. So let's not ever get confused because it's all about ideology. And as long as we realize that over the decades, we are waking up from sleep and we are up, we're going to wake up the rest of us that are still sleeping, that choose to be mentally lazy with the Nigerian kumbaya, one Nigerian nonsense. We have to wake them up. Wake your brothers up. As you're up, wake them up. And they are going to be up. And we have to continue. We will never relent. We will continue to be resolute until we restore who we are. We take away our nation from the contraption called Nigeria. So we have to think Yoruba first. We have to think Igbo first. Thank you so much, brothers and sisters.
Okay. Are Arakuni, are you there, sir?
I would like to also add, thank you very much, the review as usual. Fantastic submission. Thank you, Mr. Olumide. You scared me. Mr. Olumide has left. Mr. Olumide scared me with his submission.
He's in the audience.
And, okay, Mr. Olumide, Ederubamio, that are we not in the museum already? I believe we're not. We are going to get out. I also want to use this opportunity to also digress a little bit and tell all sensible, patriotic, Omoluabi, Yoruba nationalists on this platform. Stay away from the toxicity of Clubhouse. We are here on Clubhouse not to fight any war. We are not on Clubhouse to slander and defame anybody. Albert Einstein said something very important. He said, evil triumphs when good men do nothing. Do not join any group and any platform, hallway, or any platform where anybody is being defamed. There is something called reacting and responding. When people say all sorts of things against you, you must not respond. React. We are here to share the superiority of our logic and reason on why the Yoruba nation needs to be free. The moment you descend into the gutter and start character defamation, which our enemies are using against us, you have lost the war. And for those who have been defamed, one way or the other, there is no bad popularity. In this course of the agitation, I have been called different names on Clubhouse, on Facebook, and on Twitter, just to derail me and other nationalists from doing what we are doing. And we are just starting, we are just warming up. We will continue to preach the gospel of Yoruba freedom. When you allow toxicity to get into your message, you have no message anymore. Great men don't discuss people, they discuss ideas. When you discuss people and you are not discussing the issue, you have no message. This is not a war zone. Clubhouse is an ideological space. If people do not like your ideology, dust your feet and get out of that platform. Get out of that room. It's not a do or die affair. You think you want to preach the message of freedom and people will not come for you? They will. And that is what we call the Nigerianization agenda. Some people have been Nigerianized. And when people are Nigerianized, they've been consciously exterminated. They are sick and they need help. They need help. So if they need help, you need to engage them intellectually. We've not even started the real deal. There are still millions of people out there sitting on the fence, looking for what should they do, who should they join, and how should they come to join us. Yet, we have also engaged, some people have engaged in toxicity. I don't want to talk openly about this, but I'm going to have to put it out there. We are not here for that. That is why this Think Yoruba First is a space that will be devoid of maligning, slandering, insult, curses, character assassination, and defamation. We are going to be based, it is going to be an ideological exchange. We are the people who do not have any message, are the people who engage in cheap slandering. When I was talking about Yoruba freedom, I expect people to call me any sort of names, even amongst my fellow Yoruba people. I will not be the first, I won't be the last. Chief Obafemi Awolowo was sent to prison by a Yoruba judge. A prince of Egbaland himself in 1962. He said his hands was tied. A fellow Yoruba man destroying a foremost Yoruba nationalist. Did that stop Obafemi Awolowo from also still going ahead to defend Yoruba interest? So stop saying nationalists. Nelson Mandela. So Mr. Lumide, there is no problem. There are two, in any freedom fight, there are two categories of people. That is why we say people need to get the ideology right before even declaring themselves to be a freedom fighter. There are two categories of people in any freedom fight. We have the revolutionary and we have the reactionary. The revolutionary and the reactionary, we tell you they are fighting for the same cause. But there is something very, very peculiar to reactionaries. And I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm just saying the way it is. People should go and read the book of Che Guevara. Maybe they are going to learn better. Books written by Che Guevara. Reactionaries lack one thing. They lack emotional intelligence. Why revolutionaries? They are ideologues. That is the difference. That is the difference. A reactionary reacts. A revolutionary responds. That's the difference. And it is the superiority of your idea that will bring people to let people know that this is true. That the reason for the Yoruba nation is, the fight for Yoruba nation is justified. Even your enemies will respect you. That's the difference between a reactionary and a revolutionary. But most of the time, people confuse reactionaries with revolutionaries. And if revolutionaries do not step in to pass the sane and proper message of freedom, the reactionaries will destroy the struggle. The clubhouse is a microcosm of the bigger world. And that will be the biggest mistakes for all the revolutionaries. If you do not do the needful and do not listen to the voice of listening, the reactionaries will destroy everybody, including you. Because the revolutionaries need to be a torchlight for the reactionaries to know that they do not need to be reactionaries. They need to be revolutionaries. Because a reactionary, you might believe in Yoruba nation, believe in anything, but you are not a freedom fighter. You are just wasting your time. That's the difference. When ideologies, when we talk about, it's no longer ideology. When we talk about, it's no longer the superiority of logic. We know some people don't just want to learn. Don't give them, just ignore them and don't go into any something to them and just ignore them. But for those who want to have a proper exchange, come on, we can have a conversation. And the people in the audience are the best judge. Do you think many of the things we're talking about, people don't go to Google to go and check it out? People go to Google to check it out. Please, let us do the needful. To all revolutionaries in the house, Aguta continua. The victory is certain. Let us rise up and let us sanitize the clubhouse. We are not bigots. We do not engage ourselves in character assassination. We do not engage ourselves in slandering and maligning people. We are Omoluabis. We will stay on the topic. And we are strong people in our hearts. You can call me anything you want to call me. Call me a thief, call me a scammer, call me a terrorist, call me anything you want to talk to. Because I'm talking about the Yoruba nation, because I'm talking about Yoruba freedom, because I'm talking about Yoruba nationalism, because I support Tingrai freedom, because I support self-determination movements across the world, I don't give a damn. In fact, if you think you stopped me, I'm just starting. And we can all know, we don't know for ourselves. We know people that are spreading toxicity. We know them. We don't need to engage in that. And to our people, they open a hallway. I don't care which camp is that. They put people's name, they start attacking people. You go in there. If you don't go in there, the room will close. It's going to shut down. It is when you go in there that you give them the oxygen to breathe. It doesn't matter which camp. I don't care. It's true. We have government agents on this platform. People who instigate violence. People who instigate distraction. If you fall into their trap, they've won. That is why they are here to create confusion. Why can't we just get it? You should go and read what they did. During when the blacks were moving, black Americans were fighting for equal rights. In America, go and listen to the sabotage. Go and listen to the audios. Go and see what they faced. Go and read about what happened to Fred Hampton. What was done to him. That great man was killed at the age of 21 or 22. A great revolutionary. Go and listen to him. Go and listen to what happened to Bishop in Grenada. What was done to him by fellow blacks? Killed and his body burnt with acid and was never seen to this present moment. Sponsored by the United States of America. Think it's a joke? You think it's a tea party? You think they will not come for you? When you react, they will catch you. Once you give them the attention they seek, you are gone. It's an old trick in the playbook. I'm not supposed to say this outside. So that they don't know that some people know how they are thinking. We are going to splurge it out. We will get it to the mud. We will destroy. So what? You've lost. You've lost the battle. Everybody, please stay strong. Stay strong. Stay strong. I repeat. I will never go into the public to engage anybody in a slandering or defamation. I will never. Arekurumi will not descend into that level. I was not taught to be a revolutionary to do that. Because battles are not fought by these bros. Only politicians engage in those dirty things. Character assassinations. Both ways. So, Mr. Lumide, we are all together. It doesn't matter. There is no problem at all. You've seen the message is still the same. The message of freedom and the message of Yorubaness. Do not listen to what people say. They say, look at what they do. You cannot be a freedom fighter and be spreading toxicity. Doesn't matter what has happened. They've not killed you. You are even lucky that they told you they are coming for you. What about if they don't tell you before coming for you? If you think they are not going to come for you, please drop being a freedom fighter and go and be eating your pounded yam and egusi soup and don't join the struggle again. If you don't want anybody to come and defame you, leave the struggle and leave. Can get out. If you think they will not come and lie against you, leave the struggle. You don't want people to lie against you. You don't want them to defame you. You don't want them to open rooms in your name, give you bad names. While we were launching this house, people left and started the room and started saying this is fraud. Did I ever respond? No. I moved on. If you think you don't want people to come hard for you for being a Yoruba nationalist, then get out of the struggle. I'm going to be having 4 wives, producing children, enjoying yourself. Apologies to the women. You've not seen anything. You'll be banned from coming to your motherland. You will not be able to see your town. You will not be able to see your wife. You will be isolated in the bushes. You will lose your jobs. They will attack you, both physically and spiritually. Yet you are still going to move on. That is a revolutionary. That is a revolutionary. That is what is called revolution. I think everybody has been able to pass my message. Let us stay on the topic. Let's stay in line, and we shall overcome together. We shall. We shall. Clubhouse is made up of people in the diaspora. Many people have master's degree, PhD, lawyers, architects, professionals, people that have mingled with the who and who in the whole world. Let it reflect the way we do things. Let us know that there's a difference between reaction and response. There's a difference. I repeat. In freedom fight, there are always...
We have about 34 minutes, 40 minutes to go.
Yeah. There are two camps in the revolutionary struggle. We have the reactionaries and we have the revolutionaries. The reactionaries, they react. The revolutionaries, they respond. Reactionaries, they lack emotional intelligence. The revolutionaries, they take the higher moral ground. But they don't forget. They don't forget everything that has been done to them because they are humans. They don't forget. They don't forget. I don't know if they forgive, but they don't forget. And at the right time, they respond. That is a revolutionary. Thank you very much. Over to you, moderators.
Yeah, I'm going to let other people take over. Please, Arakurin, Fellow, Kemi, please. Mr. Kemi, please, take over, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, ma. To the people that are here for the first time.
Arakurin is back.
Okay, all right, sir.
I even wanted to ask him I needed to hear his voice, Arakun especially.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I will quickly say something. I went to take my daughter from school and I'm just trying to drive into the office to settle down. But I've been with you all along. I just want to add to what Ares said. There's something I would say as a Christian, and I learned something. We might be innovative in our style of worshiping God, but the substance is what we cannot alter. Innovative in the sense that we have a supreme God, and He's a God of all. It doesn't matter whether you are a Muslim. I believe God created all of us. And so, innovative in the sense that you might choose to be a Muslim, you might choose to be a Christian, you might choose to be an ISESE person. But I want to say that as long as we respect each other, we embrace, one another, and we respect ourselves, we won't have problem. Somebody talking about Awolowo, the Awolowo that I know. I may not really be in my 40s when Awolowo was reigning. In a couple of months or 1 or 2 years, I will also be 50. That's to say that I know little about Awolowo. The Awolowo that I know will never castigate Islam, Christian, or whatever. Baba embraces all. And so I believe in this group. It doesn't matter whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, whether you are Isheshe. As long as you think Yoruba first, we are one. And so just like Ares said, we are not here to castigate, to slander anybody. When Mr. Olumide was talking, I understand where he's going, but I just want to say that we will try as much as possible to embrace one another. But let's not forget the fact that we need to think Yoruba first. And so, just as Ares said, we're not fighting. Honestly, we are all one. A time will come, we will all meet at the same point. That we will all be able to say that this is exactly what we want, and At that point, there won't be need for anybody to go back. I just need to quickly go down and settle down in the office. If we have not closed, I might come back to say something else. I think, Kemi, you might please go ahead. Thank you very much, everybody. Are, thank you very much for your submission. And everybody has spoken, Obini, thank you so much. I'm still with you, please. Thank
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful submission. I'm 100% sure that your message was 100% clear to everybody on the platform. Once again, this is Think Yoruba First. This is a room, or let me say a platform, whereby we propagate the Yorubaness, the Yorubanism in each and every one of us. The message is clear. We are not for anything but the preservation of Yoruba people all across the world. We've asked many people that have made submission, but in case we have some new people in the house who might want to say one or two things, or probably they have one or two questions as to what our vision or our mission is on this platform. If you have any question, you are free to raise up your hand. If you're in the audience, we can bring you up, and if you have any question as well, we can bring you up. But the message is clear. Like what I used to do before, I asked myself, what has gone wrong with me? What has gone wrong with our people? Why is it that we are not taking pride in our culture and tradition? Why are we not taking pride in who we are? Why are we having identity crisis? But thank God I was able to come on this platform and I was able to learn the need for us to pass this race, this ethnic group to the upcoming generation. So I'm sure there are many people on this platform too who actually have the same problem like I had initially. But now what I do is this: whenever I see anybody, be you Yoruba, be especially when you are Yoruba, what I do whenever I see you is I greet you, even if you don't answer me. I will still make myself very clear to you, sir. Check in Yoruba ni. And at that point in time, they change like, Omo Yami. Then there's this kind of joy that comes from within. And that's to let you know that you have people who you can, identify with. And I will tell you this story as well. I have a friend here in America. There was a time she was telling me, like, I don't know where I belong. And I began to ask, I said, you don't know where you belong? How do you mean? She said, ah, when I want to be an American, they tell me I'm not American. When I want to be a Nigerian, they tell me I'm not Nigerian enough. He said she doesn't know. Now she's hanging in between. Then it pinched me again like this is a Yoruba person. Now she's having identity crisis. I didn't mean we have our own nation where we take pride in our own nation and not a nation that will open live bullet on its citizens. These are the reasons why we are saying we need a nation where we can go around as a citizen. A lady that was killed by the Ivorian security agency, I did mean she has a nation where she can pride herself as a proper Yoruba woman. What happened wouldn't have happened unto her. In order for us to prevent such in the future, that is why we are saying the real Omoluabi in us has to come to space, has to feature in everything that we do. So what we are saying is this: let the Yoruba person in you come to play at any point. Being the real Omoluabi, respectful, courteous, well educated, welcoming, and all the likes. And that is why the southwestern part of the country is the most juicy place for any Nigerian to dwell. This is the reason because there is no I do not know. It's a land that welcomes everybody. It's a land that gives you the liberty to worship whatever your religion is. It gives you that atmosphere. for you to enjoy life, for you to see why we need each other. But yet, we still want to preserve our Yorubaness. And we do not want, because we have been compromised by the Nigerian system. And this we do not want to go further. We want to make sure we are conservative as much as we are welcoming visitors and everybody across the world. So on this platform, I'm going to submit like, let your Yoruba person, your inner self, which is Yoruba, always come to play, whereby you don't involve in backbiting or any other thing. But let the Yoruba, the egalitarian person in you, come into play. Mr. Valor, the other time it seems you want to say something. I will use the mic for you, Mr. Valor.
Thank you, Mr. Kemi, for that which is being said by you and Arakurin. I only have something. The only thing I want to say is that I want to tell people the experience of those people that are outside the shores of Nigeria that are Yoruba. And I'm not talking those of us that are being born in Nigeria or even have parents whose history generate from that geographical region we call Nigeria today, which doesn't even exist by legality anymore, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm a man without a nation, or a man without a place, but I'm a man with a nation, but not a man with a country, rather, because I'm not a Nigerian presently anymore, as it has ended 2014. But I am Yoruba, and I know my place, I know my hometown, and that is the reason why I have allegiance to my people and myself. There's this lady I met recently when I went to donate blood some days ago, and while my wife told me that she's Yoruba, she was so happy to talk to me. She's from the region you call Sabe, somewhere in Benin Republic here. And if you look at the whole map region of Yoruba people, you see Sabe, places called Ketu and all those places there. There's an Abeokuta in this place, Benin Republic, a town called Abeokuta here too, with the name that we have in Nigeria, the one in Abeokuta too, Abeokuta here. And there's Ketu, the same Ketu you have in Lagos, but just a different spelling, but I don't know what meaning it might have. I don't know that. But what I'm just trying to say is that the way they embrace you, the moment these people hear that you are Yoruba, the way they embrace you, you will even wonder, ṣé ilé ọba mo ti wá ni àbí ìran ọba ni mo ti wá ni? It's okay, please stop crying. Pé ṣé ilé ọba mo ti wá ni àbí ìran ọba ni mo ti wá ni? Because some of these young chaps here now that identify, because some of them, because of my look, actually think I have a different job, and I mean they negate the kind of personality I might have. But the moment they hear me speak Yoruba, I've seen military men of top rank in this country hear me speak Yoruba, and they came down from their car to come and greet me. And that there was a day I almost wanted to, I was freezing in my mind, like, and when I heard that this is the reason this man came to approach me, I almost wanted to cry. Wọ́n ṣe mí bẹ́ẹ̀ rí láti jọ́ tán ti bí mi nílẹ̀ Yorùbá wa nílẹ̀ ní Nàìjíríà. Apologies, I'm not trying to speak bad about anything. Wọ́n pọ́n mi lé bẹ́ẹ̀ rí. They have never ever done that to me since I've traveled around in my life for being a Yoruba person. Welcome, Bon Arrivé. You understand? So it's appalling, it's bad that when you now speak to people about believing in who they are, their identity, people think you are saying some sort of rubbish. They don't understand how far this is going. I also met a guy who works in a mobile communication company here in this country. The move is the Etisalat in this country. He said he's from Ilorin, but Nigeria. That is so crazy. That is so bad. Because some people have decided to define.
I think probably that's due to the network or probably the background noise. So, in case you are coming on this platform for the first time, this is still a platform whereby we promote the Yorubanism, as in being a Yoruba person. We have several situations whereby that made us to actually say we as a Yoruba people, it's high time for us to come together and make ourselves one. It's time for us to come out from our shell and make sure we achieve the Yoruba nation in order to preserve our race and to preserve our ancestral land for the unborn generation. Because that land was preserved for us by our ancestors, by our grandfathers and great grandmothers and the likes. So we will not let down our unborn generation. So we are saying this time around, it is time for us to promote the Yoruba in us. Please, whenever you see anybody, whenever you see any human that speaks Yoruba, please begin to see them as your own people, as brothers and sisters. That does not mean that anybody from Igbos are not our people, or let me say, they are not our brothers as well. But yet, there's something that comes with, okay, for example, it's as if sometimes here when we see the Indians, they move together, they work together, and they do things in common. This is to let you have, how do I say it, a family even when you are far from home. And when you are at home, this is to let you elevate the immediate environment that you have. This is to further let you elevate, or to let you know that the Yoruba person beside you is much more important than the Nigeria, which happens to be a geographical expression. I will tell you that Nigeria as it is, what is the culture of Nigeria? What is the language of Nigeria? The one that was given to us by the colonizers? No, that is not who we are. Yoruba people have been existing before Nigeria. And people that were born before the 1960s, they have been Yoruba before Nigeria, or 1914, or whichever. We have been existing thousands of years before these people came in. And we've realized that the Nigeria that we are, in one way or the other, has denigrated us to a point whereby we don't even want to associate, we don't even want to recognize ourselves anymore. And that is why some invaders are using this opportunity to treat us as slaves, even in our ancestral land. That is why we as people, we find it somehow difficult to have a job, even when the little that is available that is supposed to be shared equally. And that is why we'll see some group of people who will never call themselves out, even when evil is being done by any of them. But not among us Yorubas. We stand for equity. We stand for honesty. We stand for anything that is just. And we wouldn't allow Nigeria system to take this away from us. Because these are the ways whereby we promote, ourselves, we promote our culture. These are the way whereby we give everybody the opportunity to have equal say in our system, including women. Not in a situation where they will be saying women are not supposed to be driving. This is a situation whereby they are saying women are not supposed to be with men in the same vehicle, promoting one gender ahead of the other. This is what Nigerian system does. And this is not even what Yoruba people stand for. And that is why we keep saying, we as Yoruba people, it is time for us to come together and make ourselves one. Our language is going, and we don't want a situation whereby the Americans, the Indians, the people in Cuba will be the ones to come to Nigeria and be teaching us our culture and tradition anymore. This will be a thing of shame. And that is why this platform stands for Yoruba preservation. It stands for Yoruba preservation. We want to preserve ourselves for the oncoming generation. We don't want the world to take away, because that was a time when it is 5 a.m. in the morning, the next person that knocks at our door is our grandma, just for her to say good morning and to see the children. But that's not the case in the Nigeria of today. To even travel to the next village is a big problem because you are not sure of your faith. These are the things that be degrading us. These are the things that be putting us in one corner in which we don't want to be. And that is why we are coming out to say we want to retain that culture of friendliness and godliness. Because if everybody is well fed, the rate of crime will definitely reduced. And these are the things we are saying at this point. There is a need for us to come together as a people and build a nation that our upcoming generation will be proud of. If anybody is still on, to those who are in the platform that actually have one or two things to say, the floor is open. Just blink your mic, or probably if you are in the audience, you raise up your hand, then we bring you up for you to have a say, for you to share your view of you as a person, why you think this platform should be should continue, or if you have let me say, if you have something different from what we are saying, probably you have a different ideology, please, I want you to come up and say one or two things. Thank you. Mr. Oluwaseyi, are you here to say something? Okay, Mr. Sam, you can go, then Mr. Oluwaseyi will go after Mr. Sam. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kenny, and hello everyone. And I love this group because I actually follow Obirin, and I love it. I mean, the name of the group, Think Yoruba First. Um, s- but my question is, this Think Yoruba First, or the Yoruba nation that we are looking forward to, is it a social cultural nation or social political nation? Because most cases, when I hear people talking, they are looking at social political nation. In other sense, having a nation politically Yorubas, which means we will have to get the Yorubas from Benin Republic, the Yorubas in Togo, and I just find out there are some Yorubas in Sierra Leone too. So, which means we have to get all these folks together into this future Yoruba nation. For me, I will look at us approaching this issue more on a social political and social cultural aspect. What does that mean? Because of how big the Yoruba nation is, um, because of the dynamics that is being played currently due to the current civilization, most of you are, perhaps your mom was Yoruba, your dad was Yoruba, you grew up in Yoruba environment. It's very easy for you. But for us who are proud Omo Ibadan, at the same time proud Omo Edo, because that's where we spent most of our life, or like my cousins who both parents don't even have any Yoruba upbringing, any Yoruba ancestry, but they were born in Ibadan. Some were born in Lagos, and they are proudly claiming Yoruba because they speak the language and they associate with the culture. In fact, they have gone ahead to marry Yoruba women and start producing kids who their last name might not be Yoruba, but in all ramification, they are Yoruba by speaking, by association, and by behavior. There are a lot of people that fall into this group. So when we are making this new Yoruba nation, then you ask, then Mr. Olumide talked about the Bahia in Brazil. As he was saying it, I just smiled. I was so happy because my first manager was born in Bahia. He can tell you about the spirituality of the Yorubas. He can utter some words in Yoruba. He's so proud of his Yoruba origin. So, which means in this social cultural Yoruba nation that comprises of Nigeria, Togo, Benin, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Brazil, Cuba, some countries in the Caribbean, we need to create an environment where we promote one, our language. I just recently even enrolled in Yoruba class again. My kids, I'm pushing them to the Yoruba class. we have to keep pushing the language. Yeah, we are all in diaspora. Some of our kids might not even come back to this to the so-called to this Nigeria, or let's say the homeland, you know. But however, they cannot take that Yoruba-ness in them away. So we have to promote this through our language, teaching them our language, our culture, teaching them our culture, teaching them our spirituality, letting them understand some other things about we the people, we the Yoruba people. But if we want to just constrain ourselves to Nigeria, the fight against Nigeria, creating a nation within Nigeria, I don't want us to exclude these other people who are not within that demography, but yet they associate of being proud of being Yoruba. So the push for us first should be, first of all, get this awareness, this social cultural awareness of how big the Yoruba nation is. And perhaps when we get that social cultural awareness, we can now push for political reform within the so-called Southwest, where we know we have homogeneous Yoruba communities. From there, we can now push into a nation or wherever. I think we in this fight we must look at it in holistically, not just some of us who are privileged to have both parents from the same place or speak the language or grow up in the society. We should also look other people outside, how we can inculcate them into this Yoruba nation now and in future. If it's going to be a political zone, that would be fine. Israelis are all over the world. They are all over the world, and they are proud to be Israel. But does that mean they are Israel from their homeland? No. Wherever they are, they claim to be Israel. And the current Israel still have Palestinian populations, even within them, the so-called Israel states today. Even what's it called the Roman people, Romania, they are all over the world. Wherever they are proud to be from there, but they still have that. Oh, we are people of the Roman kingdom. We have this origin. They are proud of it very, very well. And the same thing with so many other groups and all. I think we should really look at the and social cultural aspect first, how some of our streets can be named in both English and Yoruba, how our curriculum, even outside the within the Southwest, can have a very opportunity for people to learn Yoruba from their primary school if they have that Yoruba ancestry. Those are some things which can be pushing and make a reform, not just in Nigeria. I just discovered that some churches, even in Brazil, use Yoruba as part of their communion, the Catholic Church over there, some of the communities there. So those are some of the things I also want us to be pushing very well. I'll use the mic at this point. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very, very much. Can I respond, Mr. Kemi?
Yes, sir. I was about to call you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for that brilliant submission, Mr. Sam. It was a brilliant submission. I agree with you that we need to have an holistic. I was very, very happy to have listened to you from the beginning to the end. And it was very, very wise to have allowed you to properly articulate and make your submission. Thank you very much, sir. There are three phases. You used some sociological terminologies that is actually true. And you said we should take note of the socio-cultural aspect. That is true. We should also take note of the socio-political aspect. That is good. Then we should also, I want to add, take care of the socio-economic aspect. Because everything goes hand in hand. So I think I agree with you in that point. Very, very sensible and reasonable. Secondly, you gave a good example of the Jews. But do you know that the Jews, up until 1948, the Jews were scattered across the world. And from time to time, they were targets of riots, mob action, and genocide. from Ukraine to Russia, to during the Spanish Inquisition, to what happened during the Holocaust, to what happened during the pogrom. Even in England, there was a time Jews were targeted and they were killed en masse in England. But do you know when they started getting their respect back? And when they were able to negotiate from the position of power, it was when they had their own sovereignty, when they have the nation of their own that could defend, they have a homeland to call their own. That is why the Jews do not give a damn. Even though you said they have Arabs within their midst, they say Israel is the homeland of the Jews. They do not care about any liberal views. They do not give a damn about any liberal nonsense. They do not give a damn about any globalist agenda or globalist idea. They are not being politically correct when they say that, because they learned the hard way. If you do not have a homeland to protect, where you control your borders, you control who you are, no matter how much it is. Fulani herdsmen will come in and wipe you out. It doesn't matter how brilliant you are. It doesn't matter how comfortable you are. It doesn't matter the kind of economy you are. It doesn't matter how kind of politically sagacious that you are. It doesn't matter. You will be wiped out. That was what they learned through the hard way when 2/3 of the Jews were wiped out between 1933 to 1945. So that is why we need to have a socio-political construct to also defend ourselves. Look at what happened to the Kurds. Kurdish land was balkanized into three ethnic nations. The Turkish people, the Turkish people took the Kurdish land of Turkey, in Turkey. The Arabs, they took the Kurdish land of Syria. And the Persians took the Kurdish land in Iran. The Arabs also, they are also administering the Kurdish land in Iraq. No homeland. Until the Kurdish people took matters into their hands and paid the ultimate price to even get the regional autonomy that they have in Iraq, in the area called Kurdistan. Now, let me now tell you, fast forward 20 years later, almost 30 years later, when ISIS rose up and started attacking the whole of Iraq and Iran, Iraq and Syria, up to the Turkish border, do you know it was the Peshmerga forces, a paramilitary outfit, composed and built by the autonomous region of Erbil, of Kurdistan in Iraq. They have their flag that was able to protect Kurdish people, even Arab refugees in Kurdistan, in Erbil. If you do not have your homeland, you cannot protect your interest. Then, as regards to the Yorubas of Benin Republic and Togo, let the Yorubas of Nigeria even save themselves first. Austria is a German homeland. Germany is a German homeland. Liechtenstein is a German homeland, if you don't know. Luxembourg is a German homeland. Northern Italy, South Tyrol is a German homeland and a bastion of German civilization. People have been there. Switzerland is a German homeland, if you don't know. There are many ways to freedom. Let me also give you an example in the Balkans. Albania is a homeland of the Albanians. Kosovo is also an homeland to the Albanians. Whether they decide to come together as one or they decide to have an economic agreement, that is their business. But those of us in Nigeria, let's get out of this mess first. Then we cannot talking about reuniting, so as to make our lives more easy. Kosovo is made up of, it's an Albanian country. Albania is also an Albanian country. They speak the same language, the same people, different countries. What we are passing through, it has also happened to other people. We will not be the first, and we are not going to be the last. Let me also tell you this. Turkey is a Turkish homeland. Azerbaijan is a Turkish homeland. Uzbekistan is a Turkish homeland. Xinjiang, where the Chinese government is currently exterminating by assimilation of the ethnic Uyghurs, they are Turkish people. Turkmenistan is, even from the word Turkmenistan, you should know that that's a Turkish homeland. All these countries are comprises of ethnic Turks. They are all Turkish people. It's just like the way Germany, you look at Germany, all of them are all Turkish people. Where Turkish identity and Turkish interest is protected. When Azerbaijan went to war against Armenia, do you know the country that came in to support Azerbaijan? Turkey. And they were able to take back Nagorno-Karabakh after they lost it for 20 years. It happened last year. Last year. It just happened in our lifetime. The Turkish alliance came in because the Azerbaijanis are Turkish. The people in Turkey are also Turkish. They came in and helped their brothers and drove out the Armenians out of Nagorno-Karabakh and took back their homeland. Just last year, the world did nothing. Nobody did anything. No sanction. Everybody looked away. And the world moves on. If you allow anybody to kill you and drive you out of your land, nothing will happen. I like what you said. The cultural renaissance. That is what we are here to do, sir. I agree with everything you said. Some people were born in Yoruba land, but they are happy. I've met such people to identify with the Yoruba people. No problem. No problem. That shouldn't be a problem. In as much as we have the same ideology. So I agree with you on many stances, and I've been able to at least also clarify some points. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Sam, did I make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thanks, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Kemi.
Thank you, Are. That was, at least that was inspiring.